Today we're going to distill decades of incredible wisdom from worship leader Don Moen down to one single powerful idea. It's a principle every single leader needs to hear, and it all comes down to a critical choice. Are we prioritizing God's presence, or are we just trying to put on a polished performance? So, here's how we're going to break this all down. First up, we'll tackle the foundational purpose of worship. Then, we'll look at the common performance trap that's so easy to fall into. From there, we'll get to the turning point, choosing presence over production. Then we'll get practical, diving into the art of leading, and finally, we'll uncover the ultimate goal of it all, the transformation. Alright, first things first. To really understand where we're going, we have to know why we're doing this in the first place. So let's establish the absolute core purpose of worship. According to Don Moen, we have got to get this straight. Worship, at its heart, is not about music. It's rooted in something much deeper, God's desire to just be with His people. This isn't some new idea. It's a theme that goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden. It has always been about relationship. In this verse from Exodus, it just perfectly illustrates the point. When God gave instructions for the tabernacle, the goal wasn't to build some impressive religious stage. Not at all. The entire purpose was to create a space for His presence to literally dwell among them. He was giving them a pattern for His presence, not for production. But here's the thing. This pure, simple desire for God's presence often runs headfirst into a very modern pressure, a really dangerous pitfall for any worship leader, the pressure to perform. Don Moen tells this powerful story about a service where the presence of God just moved in this profound way. Afterwards, his pastor came up to him, totally excited, and said, "That was perfect. I want you to do that every week." And right there, in that moment, the pressure was officially on. That pressure creates an almost irresistible temptation, doesn't it? The temptation to turn what was a genuine spiritual moment into some kind of repeatable formula. You start thinking, okay, if I just use the same songs in the same order, maybe in the same key, then God will show up in the exact same way. And this is the core struggle Don Moen warns about, that danger of trying to use our own human effort, the flesh, to replicate something God started supernaturally in the Spirit. You slide from an authentic God-led moment into something that feels forced and formulaic, from flowing in the Spirit to just prompting the audience to act the way they did last week. And listen, this is not just a modern problem. The prophet Amos records God saying this very thing. God Himself warns against worship that's just noise, a performance that has no heart, a production with no presence. It is a trap He has always wanted us to avoid. So, what is the solution to this trap? Well, it's not a quick fix. It requires a fundamental shift in our focus, a complete reordering of our priorities. Here is the crucial point. We live in an age of absolutely incredible productions. People can go see a better show on Broadway or at a concert any day of the week. What they are truly desperate for, what will actually change their lives, is not another slick production. It's a genuine encounter with the presence of God. Don Moen points us back to this simple, divine pattern found right in Scripture. And I want you to notice what it doesn't say. It doesn't say enter with a fast song or enter with a slow song. It says to enter with thanksgiving and praise. See, the pattern is about the posture of our hearts, not the tempo of our music. And he uses this fantastic metaphor. A healthy church family is like a real family. You don't have a massive steak dinner celebration every single night. Sometimes it's pizza, sometimes it's hot dogs. The goal isn't some camp-meeting emotional high every Sunday. The goal is consistent, healthy, spiritual nourishment. Okay, so let's dive into how we can take this core principle of presence over production and actually apply it. Let's get into some practical wisdom for leading people effectively. The very first practical question a leader has to ask is this: who am I leading? Who is in this room? Are they young people who are ready to rock, or is it an older congregation? Are they familiar with worship, or are they maybe skeptical visitors just checking things out? Knowing your audience, it changes everything. Now, what's really interesting here is how this defines good leadership. It's not about musical talent, is it? It's about awareness and relationship. It's about knowing your pastor's heart, being aware of your people, picking theologically strong songs they can actually sing, and ultimately earning their trust so that they'll follow you. Don Moen tells this great story about leading worship for a pretty tough crowd at a Methodist men's conference. He knew these guys were skeptical. So instead of coming out with a big, high-energy start, he just gently began with a simple song at the piano. He earned their trust, which gave him the right to lead them into a much deeper place. So this brings us to the final and really the most important destination. After all the planning and leading, what is the ultimate goal? What are we actually trying to accomplish here? Don Moen makes a critical distinction here. Praise is what we do. It's us thanking God, declaring His greatness. But worship is what happens when we encounter Him. It's that moment when there's a revelation of His presence, an encounter that has the power to truly, deeply change us. And the best picture of what this kind of transformative worship looks like is found way back in the Old Testament, in the story of the prophet Isaiah's encounter with God in the temple. In the blinding holiness of God's presence, Isaiah's first response isn't celebration. It's a devastating, gut-level realization of his own brokenness and light of God's perfection. "Woe is me," he says. You see, this is where true transformation always begins, in humility. But it doesn't end there. After that moment of realization, after that cleansing, an incredible thing happens. God extends an invitation. A call to purpose is born directly out of that raw, honest encounter. And this is the ultimate outcome. The goal of authentic worship isn't just to have a good feeling or a powerful moment on a Sunday. No, it's to have an encounter with God that reorients our entire lives, that consecrates us, and that sends us out on His mission. So the final thought I want to leave you with is this profound question every single one of us who leads has to answer. When we stand up to lead, are we focused on creating a flawless production, or are we focused on creating space for people to step into a presence that has the power to truly transform their lives from the inside out?